Welcome to another episode of Beyond Four Walls, where we talk about various aspects of the property sector, uncovering stories and insights from industry professionals who shape our living spaces. Today, our guest brings a wealth of experience and unique perspective on property management and fire safety, Camilla Donalds. Camilla is an accomplished individual with many years' experience in the property sector, ranging from selling properties to property and risk management. Her journey is marked by a commitment to exceeding expectations and delivering excellent customer service. Camilla's passion for forming and maintaining relationships with colleagues, homeowners, buyers, and contractors has been a cornerstone of her professional success. So currently, Camilla is working as a health, safety, and fire advisor, and her role encompasses fire door inspections, creating detailed inspection reports for clients, conducting health, safety, and fire risk assessments, and ensuring quality assurance. She also contributes to the building safety team by managing gap analysis trackers and compiling comprehensive reports. So in this episode, we will explore Camilla's transition from property management to her current focus on fire safety, her insights on the importance of rigorous fire safety measures, and her ambition to continually heighten her expertise in the field. Camilla, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me a bit about your background and how you started in the property sector?
So I have been in sales probably from my late teens. It was more sort of retail, over to sales in one of my first estate agents out of about 4 that I've worked for in recent years. I was doing that for about 7 years before I jumped into property management, but it was predominantly just selling properties and cross-selling mortgages. That was the start of getting into the property sector.
What made you shift your focus from selling properties to managing properties to start with?
I was basically offered a different role. The market was slowing down. It wasn't as buoyant as what it was back in sort of 2012 and 13 to even 14. I basically took the opportunity to get into property management, as I believed that I would have been well suited for the role. So that's, what got me into that. And then I sort of moved on to the corporate department in the property management sector as well, and then sort of headed off to do the inspections as well, alongside doing the property management.
So in terms of moving from then property management across to health and safety and fire advisory roles, what made you want to do that?
In regards to working in property management and doing inspections, part of the job was also to sort of help mitigate any risks. So working sort of hand in hand, going out whilst I was doing the inspections and liaising sort of quite closely with block management and estate management, health and safety was at the forefront of my job, my duty. So you had to sort of be quite vigilant in terms of just even the smallest things of making sure that the restrictors were still on the windows, making sure that, pathways were clear. There wasn't, a build-up of doormats in the corridors that could pose as a trip hazard and so on. So it was just something which was sort of second nature, and working quite closely with the fire brigade team and the council when we'd have to go out and do sort of tests on the sprinkler systems and so on. So again, health and safety I believe that I had the transferable skill to get within where I am now.
So can you describe then a typical day-to-day responsibility of what a health, safety and fire advisor would entail or look like?
So we'd probably have about 1 to 3, or say 2 to 3 locations to go to, well, I should say sites to go and carry out the assessment. So it could range from a purpose-built to just a converted building, and basically just go and assess the building and just basically ensure that there isn't any sort of, general risks or hazards, and if there were any, to highlight them to then compile in the reports.
Okay, so do you tend to come across any issues or the common issues that you encounter during fire door inspections?
Fire door inspections, some of the common issues is probably the residents sort of contesting the report. Okay. In terms of sometimes with the reports, with the doors, they should be 45 mil. And
Hmm.
if they've got paneling both sides, it does take away from the measurement of the door. So some people would say, oh, my door is, suitable. But when you try to break that down to them to sort of discuss the paneling, they just, again, they contest it. Or if the door is just a non-fire rated door, they don't really see what the issues is, or even if a door is lacking in terms of having strips or sills, or
Hmm.
just the letterbox not having the intermittent strip. Also, they just don't really see it because they obviously not, how shall I say it?
Yeah, it's not, they're not in the know really, but in the same time, it's not, sometimes you think fire door and you think it's not going to be aesthetically pleasing to your property, I guess.
Yeah,
So does that cause issues? People don't want you to fiddle about with their door and stuff like
yeah, they
that.
they they don't like that. But again, we're just here to ensure that the door is fire rated.
Hmm.
Um, and we're just here to just advise. We can't force. We can only advise, really.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so in terms of ensuring accuracy and thoroughness of your inspection reports, do you have a particular process that you go through, or how do you do that side of things?
First of all, it's all about taking your time. Rushing on a job. Sometimes, if you rush, you're not gonna, you know, collate all the information necessary, and taking a lot of it is note taking as well. So when we do come back and on our office days and do our reports, we've got all of the information that is required, and also being up to date with building regs and legislation. So those, I would say, are the 2 points of keeping on top of things to ensure that everything is accurate and thorough.
Yeah, definitely. So for sort of key elements then of a comprehensive risk assessment, so a managing agent comes to you, or anybody comes to you and says, look, we need to get this done. I know I've taken on buildings where the fire risk assessment, for example, has just been one page. So what key elements do you think are involved in a comprehensive fire risk assessment?
What I think to start off with is knowing that every building is different. No two buildings are the same. So it's just going in there with an open mind, and sort of just making the report tailored for that exact building. Having the information in terms of, even the more information that we can get from the client in
Yeah.
terms of the evacuation plan, the fire strategy, having all the documents to hand, we can compile a clear and concise report. If there's anything lacking, sometimes it's hard, and especially if you don't have access to certain areas as well,
Hmm.
you can't really, it can't be that thorough. So it's
Yeah.
all working with each other, but at the same time, again, knowing that every building's different, so you have to just go in there with an open mind and
Hmm.
view it as such.
If you can access a certain area, what's your process in order to either try and get access, or what do you put in the report? What advice would you give there?
So at times, what we'll do is we'll contact the managing agent, ask if there's, any sort of key codes that we can access keys, if there is any keys that they may have forgot to sort of pass on to us to access those areas. If that doesn't, obviously work, the only thing we can do is state that there was no access to that area. But we do try to ensure that we can get into every part to give a again full and thorough report of the
Yeah,
building.
of course. And do you have that same problem when you're checking fire doors, that people don't give access?
Sometimes the emails that the managing agents may send out, maybe, I don't know, a week or two in advance. Some people generally forget. If it's like a Monday morning, they're just on sort of autopilot, getting up to go to
Yeah.
work. Some people are not even in at times, or just don't want to answer the door. So sometimes it can be tricky. If I'm doing the whole building, just note, the doors that I didn't get access to, ring the managing agent to, have them call the residents, or alternatively, just go back round on my second sort of walk round and to see if they're back in. But there's only so much we can do, but well, I definitely do try to gain access to those areas.
You can only do what you can do at the end of the day, but and everybody has to take responsibility for themselves and their own safety, and you're just there to try and help them with that ultimately, aren't you? So
Also, you can't just assume that if you've checked about 10 doors and 8 are fire rated, sometimes you can't just assume that the additional 2 are going to be fire rated, because sometimes some landlords will update their doors. Meanwhile, some are still dated, so there's no accuracy in just assuming. It's just like you have to actually physically access that door, no matter what has been told to us.
Well, you've got to cover your own backs as well, haven't you? Because ultimately, if there was a
Exactly.
fire, who are they going to come and talk to if something's not done correctly? So everyone's just trying to do their jobs. But how do you approach quality assurance in your current role and the standards that you adhere to?
In terms of our quality assurance, sometimes what we do is, not sometimes, all the time, our work goes through a filtering process. So once I've done my report, say for instance with HSS, I will then submit it. And then once it's been submitted, it will then go through to a quality assurance for somebody to then look over it to ensure that there's no deficiencies in the report. And if there is any sort of gaps or anything that may be a bit inconsistent, then it will be bounced back, and then it would have to be justified or just amended to the standard that it should be. With
Yeah.
myself, if I'm quality assuring one of my colleagues' reports on the fire door inspection side of things, same practice really, just look over the reports thoroughly before submitting it to the client. So it's not just we just have a report, send it off to the client. It has to go over a second set of eyes to ensure that it is correct, because we're only human. We could sort of miss 1 or 2 things, but that's the way we do stuff.
It sounds like you've got a really thorough process there,
Yeah.
and so can you explain the importance of a gap analysis tracker in building safety?
Okay, so the gap analysis tracker is definitely important from the building safety regulators' point of view. What that entails is the fire information, which could entail of like sort of the fire strategies, the site reports, the dry risers, ensuring that information is up to date and also present. Health and safety information such as Legionella tests, previous risk assessments, gas safety certs, policies, which could just be compliance procedures, and general information in regards to who the building owner is, any floor plans, key building information that is all up to date. Sometimes there is deficiencies and gaps where we haven't yet received the information, and there is a process that goes through where by a couple of my colleagues will then have to chase the clients to get that information to then add the system, so everything is sort of clear, concise and up to date. But if they unfortunately do not submit that information, it's just yet to be confirmed. So yeah, that's the importance of it really, just keeping everything up to date and in check. The building safety regulators do reach out to those companies. They have everything there for them to look over, and it's readily available, which is the
Okay.
best practice.
Yeah, and is that something that you and Foresight can help with for companies, or is it something that
That
is expected of managing agents, for example?
we do compile the building safety reports, and that's off the back of the health, safety, and fire assessments that we carry out, and also other information that they are expected to provide to us. Part of our service is to compile that for them. So it's not something they have to do independently. If they want to, they could. It's to make their life easier. That's why we're here, to offer that service. Sometimes if the building safety regulators do need that information, they'll provide 28 days for that information to then be compiled and be sent to them. But it's all down to effectively the agent. It's their responsibility to provide that for us to compile it.
Okay, that's great. You've said earlier about some challenges around access and that sort of thing, but are there any other sort of major challenges that you face when compiling reports for clients?
Part of us providing foresight, yeah, providing service to our clients and residents is because they're not specialists. They wouldn't need us. So, of course, at times there's going to be queries, client queries that we're going to get. And we're obviously more than happy to answer those Sometimes, again, it could be quite contested in terms of what we are saying, and it could sometimes come down to a, inconvenience if, again, a resident has to change their door. Sometimes doors have been newly fitted and look, aesthetically pleasing. However, they're not fire rated. So sometimes there is a bit of a dispute to sort of challenge the reasons why. So it's just, I would say that is an issue sometimes, or just a lack of knowledge. But we're just there to just sort of reinforce our point of view and what we know, and just to ensure that the clients and residents have a better understanding of what we are doing.
Definitely. And obviously the fact that you're willing to communicate with your client's client as well, I suppose, because sometimes it can get a bit tricky, can't it?
Yeah, it can. So sometimes you're just like, this could be, you could do a report in January and, there's a client query that can come up in April. But it's not just to say, oh, we've done this 3 months ago. Our job is to ensure that they do understand what we're doing. Sometimes it may not be comfortable because if we're telling you that, your door has to be fire rated or something's not up to, building regs, and we are advising to change it, not everybody's going to like that, but we are
Yeah.
all there to sort of help and give that advice. But normally, sort of 8 times out of 10, they do understand where we're coming from, and if they have to make those changes, yeah, that's what we'll stand by. We're not going to just sort of just change what we're the narrative just to suit them. There's rules and regulations that we have to adhere by as well.
So in terms of staying updated on latest regulations, best practices, that sort of thing, when it comes to fire safety, how do you manage that yourself or within the company?
Okay, so in terms of staying updated, you have bodies like IOSH, IFSM that you can sort of keep and know with. Also, you'll get the newsletters when you're part of that association. And what's really good about Foresight is that they are extremely good in keeping staff in the know, even if it's just emails that will come out when necessary, sort of just update us on different regulations and legislations, and just just in regards to building regs, we will always be informed and
Yeah.
sometimes inundated with it because it's something that we need to know. So if something may sort of slip you in terms of if you haven't got any sort of update from ISM directly, Foresight will definitely be there to sort of let you know through an email, but I'm sure there will be.
Brilliant. Well, it's good, it sounds like you've got the support all around you. So yeah, that kind of leads me on quite nicely to the technology question. So what role does technology play in your work, especially when conducting inspections and assessments?
In terms of doing our day-to-day job, in terms of reports, we really, really do rely on our tablets and our systems to keep that going for us. So without that, we'll be using sort of back to pen and paper, and it would, make things quite long and laborious for us to do on a day-to-day basis. So it's definitely good to have these systems in place to just speed things up and just, really assist on the day-to-day.
When you think about the people around you and wanting to go into this industry, if you like, what do you think what qualities do you believe are essential for success in the property and fire safety sector?
I think, to be honest, the first one is actually wanting to get into it and seeing this as a career. I think a lot of people may think that, you need to start off with, all these qualifications and so on. Sometimes it just takes transferable skills and for you to be tenacious and actually want to do this to get into it. I would say definitely have an eye for detail, to being vigilant. And sometimes in this field, 3 to 4 assessors may go out, spot different things, and sometimes things are subjective. But it's just basically just ensuring that you have the drive to do this and you're keen, really, I would say. That's what I could advise.
So since obviously the tragedy of Grenfell Tower and there's been multiple fires since, unfortunately, but how do you personally manage the pressure of ensuring that buildings meet those safety standards?
Well, again, every building is different, so it could have a different strategy, evacuation strategy, that we have to take into consideration. It's just all about checking every hazard and even every general risk and documenting it down to sort of cover our backs and also to notify the managing agents to ensure that, something like Grenfell never comes about again. When you sort of rush or overlook things and just think, oh, this is just a minor hazard, sometimes that minor hazard could be the most crucial hazard that can sort of start fire and actually take people's lives. So it's to take every part of the inspection seriously.
What advice would you give to somebody looking to work in a sort of a fire safety advisory role?
To take their role seriously, because being a fire safety advisor is, again, to mitigate risks and also to effectively save lives. So it's just not a job where one day you could just come in and just feel like you're just going to go to an inspection, rush around and just not take it seriously. Our brand and our name is sort of marked in the reports. And if anything happened, like Grenfell touch wood, it wouldn't. I just feel that I don't know how people would be able to live with themselves. So it's about taking things seriously and the essentials, of what would make a successful fire safety advisor. I believe that it's about also having transferable skills, but also having the willingness to learn. A lot of my colleagues have got great expertise in what they are doing. And if I'm ever in doubt, I can ask them. I don't think anyone's too young or old to learn.
Yeah. And about teamwork, it sounds like you've got a great team around you. So in terms of your career moving forward and evolving, where do you see that going over the next few years?
So when I actually come back off of maternity, I want to be basically doing my level 4 and just basically just acquiring more knowledge and heightening my skill set, really, to then sort of be able to go on and do more high-rise buildings and even more complex buildings as well. So it's just about still staying within this field, but just doing more for the company as well.
I mean, the complex cases must be really difficult with all of the new regulations and everything coming in. So it'd be great for you to learn that.
And everything's very fast evolving. It does get a bit tedious, but again, with the help of Foresight always keeping you in the know, as well as the associations that you can be part of, it's definitely useful.
And lastly, what message would you like to share with my listeners about the importance of fire safety?
Fire safety is something that should be taken very seriously. Anybody who gets into the sector can thrive at it, and you don't again have to have this fountain of knowledge to start off with, but being in this industry is very rewarding in terms of knowing that you're making a difference, and it's just something where you just need to start and just grow and accumulate that knowledge. So long as you have a good thought system, just like what I have here at Foresight, all things are possible. Like if I'm ever on site and I'm in doubt, I can always call my team leader, the head of fire and safety. I could always call them to just get advice. There is anybody out there who would like to join, it's definitely, for me personally, Foresight's a company that I'll definitely recommend for you to work for and just heighten your skill set and just grow.
Well, I know you go on to maternity leave in a few weeks, so good luck with everything. When you're back, obviously, how can people find you if they want to?
They can find me on my email, which is camilla.donalds@foresightconsulting.co.uk. You can also contact the office on 01376 572 936. That is 01376 572 936. If I'm not here, one of my colleagues will definitely be here and happy to help and advise.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so much, Jodie.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my latest podcast. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. The links are in the show notes. Or you can contact me on jodie@jodiefraser.com. For more content and updates, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favourite platforms. Thank you once again for listening. Until next time, take care.